Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today's tip with Richard Polak is about being present and clearing the mind. In the last tip, we talked about how productivity begins before you go to work. And the conversation came up about being present. And one of the things Richard talks about in his book, Work Smart Now, is that presenteeism is 10 times worse than absenteeism. Richard, explain that one a little bit more. What does it mean to not have presenteeism, to not be present, and why is it 10 times worse than absenteeism?
Okay, what it means absenteeism is pretty simple. If you're just not there at your desk, you've called in sick, or you've taken your PTO, paid time off, right? And then you're absent. But you could also be absent if you're there, which means presenteeism, where you're just not engaged at work. You could, like you just talked about in another past tip, you could have a clear mind, but you could be not there. To be completely present is to be focused like you and I are right now in the discussion that you're in, and there's nothing around that's distracting you. It's hard to do. Presenteeism is the term for that. And it costs an employer 10 times more than someone being absent. So the average absenteeism costs an employer about $2,300, just in average. It depends on the industry, of course. $2,300 per employee per year, let's say. So now multiply that. It's $23,000, 10 times worse if it's presenteeism. It's very, very expensive.
So why would it be worse? And here's my answer, is because you might only be absent, let's say 5 days a year, but you may not be present 300 days a year.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
You might be sitting at your desk and not there.
Oops, sorry.
Right. You might be sitting at your desk, but the lights aren't on inside. Okay. So let's talk about being present and clearing your mind, because I was saying in the last snippet that those were two different things. So what does being present mean to you?
It means what we're doing right now. We're fully focused on what we're talking about, presenteeism.
So there's no distractions. Okay. So what are common distractions that people might have?
Oh, they happen all the time. And we set them up for ourselves too. And they're easy to get rid of. The notification will pop up on your screen. Bing.
Right.
That's the first thing you should get rid of on your Outlook or whatever whatever mail software you're using. Anything around you, the mind is fascinating, actually, because the mind's always looking for ways to find a distraction.
Yeah.
So, they put these blinders on horses for a good reason. Yeah. And if we wear them, it'd be really great for us too, actually. And I was thinking actually buying a pair if there was, because anything that's around us, we've got peripheral vision that's fantastic, but it's very, very distracting for us. Any kind of multitasking takes us out of presenteeism. Right. So even what you just did, you turned a switch off, right? You were not present in that moment.
Yeah, because I was looking at my picture and I was like, geez, it looks like I'm really bright. So you're exactly right. That was an example of me not being present. I'm sorry.
No, they weren't even aware of it.
Right.
Because it's unconscious.
Right.
So much of presenteeism is unconscious.
Well, the phone, there was somebody else I was listening to, and he was talking about how there's 1,440 minutes in a day, and we touch, on average person touches their mobile phone 2,300 times a day.
Yeah.
1.5 times a minute. So that's a massive distraction.
Well, there's also studies that are showing that generates dopamine for the mind, and that's a really good feeling. It's nothing better than dopamine, and that's one way to get it, is by going to your phone. Just going to your phone. It's a problem for us, actually. It's more of a problem for, I believe, our next generation, for our children.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So it's affecting their school and everything else.
Okay, so now let's contrast being present with clearing your mind. Now, the mind, what I say, and I'll explain what I mean by this. The conscious mind processes maybe 3, 5, 7 things at one time, if you're really good. Then there's the unconscious mind and the subconscious mind. The unconscious mind I think of as like all the software programs running in the background, and the unconscious mind is keeping us walking, talking, and chewing gum at the same time. You talk about this in your book. I've been talking about this for decades. And so clearing your mind, to me, is focusing on the software programs that are running in the background in the unconscious mind.
I didn't follow that. Clearing your mind is clearing your mind. Well, give me that again.
So you've got your conscious mind, like right now, where I'm consciously aware of things that I'm saying or doing. And we just used an example of me unconsciously being distracted because I was turning off the light. And I wasn't really thinking about that consciously. So that was like a subconscious program running in the background system that looked at my shirt and said, oh, there's too much light on me in this recording. But there's dozens and dozens of things going on in the subconscious mind. I'm worried about, my stock investment. I'm worried about my daughter who's failing in school, or my family member who's sick, or, am I respected? Do I look good? Am I smart enough? I mean, the list of things that is going on, that's noise, is those are all things running in our subconscious mind. They're not in our unconscious mind, which is running, that's the OS system running the supercomputer. And they're not in the conscious mind, so they're in the subconscious mind, like a software program running in the background.
That's a very good way to play.
Okay, so clearing the mind is getting rid of all of those subconscious things that are running in the background.
Right. Now, I propose the best way to do that, and it's nothing you can do quickly. There's no habit you can change quickly. If you can change any habit, by the way, that's amazing, right? So it's really hard. But the only way you can help, in my view, long-term change is through some form of therapy or analysis of your mind over and over and over again, and slowly making change, and your mind will clear itself organically, but only after time, a long time. And what else do you have if you're not? Time's going to pass anyway. You may as well get the help. It's a mental health issue to me. It's not about a distraction. You're distracted for a reason that's unconsciously going on in your mind. And that can be cleared up. And then if you have a clear mind, that leaves you open to being more present.
Exactly. That's the connection. Yeah. If you have a clear mind, that leaves you open to being more present. The converse is, if you're not present, it's because you're being distracted. So what are the things that are distracting you? So how do we clear those? So, okay, great.
Extreme example of those who are schizophrenic or those who have multiple personalities. They need medication in order to clear their minds. There's no other way to help them because it's a biological issue.
Right.
But other than that, for the vast majority of us, we just need some sort of support, mental health support, to do so. It's the best investment you can make in your life, in my opinion.
All right.
Because that will take that 10 times of presenteeism down to 2 or 3. And look, since I've done psychoanalysis, my income has gone up 6 to 10 times. All right. I'm not kidding. If you do it for money, if you don't want to do it for anything else, you'll make a lot more money if you do it, because you'll be able to focus a lot more on what's important. You'll do only the things you only should do, which we discussed in another snippet. Yeah. Make your life much more enjoyable.
Right.
It's very helpful, all that.
All right, great. All right, well, that's the end of this tip, being present and clearing the mind. Thanks for being here. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today's tip with Richard is take a nap every day. Okay, Richard, tell us about taking a nap.
Okay, sounds like a childhood thing to do, and we learn it in childhood, but then what's the reason why we wouldn't do it as an adult consciously, right? Child needs to sleep, we need our sleep. We talked in another snippet about how important it is to get your 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Very important, okay? For me, after lunch, during siesta time, and we know in the Spanish culture how important that is. They'll take a nap, they'll leave work, and it helps them with their life and their longevity and so on. I take a nap 20 minutes a day, 10 to 20 minutes a day, typically around the time when we have kind of dip off after lunch. It helps, and it's much better than a cup of coffee. All right. Look, there's research that's been done that shows that 30-minute naps, employees in data entry jobs were 2.3% more productive and invested more of their money into savings accounts. That was just a fact of research.
Really?
Yeah. Right. There was another study with 23,000 individuals found that napping at least 3 times a week lowered their chance of developing heart disease by 37%.
So how do you do this in a work environment? Do you set up a nap room, like a prayer room kind of thing?
Exactly. One of the companies I work with actually has what they call it a wellness room. And it is a single chair, a recliner, and you can turn it off, and it's in a quiet place. You turn off all lights, you put the recliner, just lie down, and you set and I happen to have one of these devices. I set it for 10 minutes, and then I take my nap, and it takes a while. By the way, it takes a practice in order to take a nap. You can't just go, oh, I'm going to take a nap now, and that you never took a nap before. Yeah. It took me years to get it, and I to get it down, and then now I got it down, and it just takes practice. It takes a good 3 to 5 minutes to even get into nap mode, quite honestly.
Right.
We talked about clearing the mind and the other stuff. It takes a while to clear your mind and get your body ready for a nap. And then if you get 5 minutes or 10 minutes of a real nap, that's amazing.
But here's one of the point. I mean, it's interesting. We're talking about this after the one on clearing the mind. I mean, what is a nap doing? It is clearing the mind. It is, allowing the tension or stress or problems from the last meeting or project or proposal, whatever it was you were doing. It's basically giving your supercomputer time to defrag the hard drive. And therefore, it's going to make you much more productive and efficient, assuming you can snap out of the nap pretty quickly. Is that a problem, snapping out of the nap pretty quickly?
It can be. It depends. And there's no rules in napping, by the way. If you go 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, that's okay. You generally don't want to go more than that because you can get to a groggy state. And if you go more than that, it generally means there's something else going on, maybe some form of depression. I'm not talking about those issues because depression will make you tired. If it's just a general nap to reinvigorate yourself. Okay.
All right. Well, thanks very much. That's today's tip. Take a nap. I loved it. Go find the wellness room. And I get any closing. What's that?
If you're an employer, create the
wellness room. All right, great. All right, thanks, Richard. Thanks for being here. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today's tip with Richard is pick 3 apps. Richard, what are we talking about?
Okay, so if I said to you, pick any app, okay, pick 3 apps, which 3 would you pick? Because we've got too many apps to choose from. If you look at your phone, how many pages of apps do you have there? Think about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta be, how many is on one screen? 20? I don't know.
3, 5, 15 or 20, right?
Yeah. I must have 45.
Okay, sure. And by the way, when you have them, another way to increase productivity is move them into boxes and collect them under entertainment, travel, finance.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you put them in boxes, it makes it easier to find.
Right.
But that's still too many apps for any of us. And you think about if you have 45, how many do you really use? If you can, think of it after the call, get rid of the apps you don't use so they're not distracting you.
Yeah, but how would an app, so I'm going to say I probably, I use my banking. So I got one bank, a credit card, or a credit union. I've got 3 different investment ones. I've got 3 different airlines, which I only use during the airline. How could I pick 3 apps? I mean, I'm only, what are we talking? Because I use different apps for traveling or banking, so how could I pick 3 apps?
But you put all the banking ones, all the finance apps in a box
Right.
aside. You put all the travel apps, Travel Advisor or any of those, your airlines in one
Right.
box with an aside. I'm not really even talking about those. I'm talking about productivity apps that you use for work.
Uh-huh.
Glad you brought that up so we have some clarification here.
Okay.
I'm talking about your email. All right. I'm talking about your text. That's an app. Believe it or not, these are apps, right?
Right.
I'm talking about your task list. All right. That's on your phone. It's also on your computer. I'm talking about some firms now use this Slack.
Right. Slack. Right.
Can't get people fast enough through their texting. Can't get them. It was, I forgot her name that said it. She said the problem with instant gratification is it takes too long. That's Debbie Fisher said that. That's where we've gotten to. All right. Now we have Slack where we had text messaging, and it does almost exactly the same thing, except of course the Slack, you can include a whole bunch of people and distract them as well.
So you're talking about LinkedIn, email, Twitter, Instagram, Slack, those kind of business or productivity apps. Pick three.
Pick three during your workday that you use and put them all the rest aside. I suggest even put the three on your front page of your phone. And then when you want to use the other apps, you can swipe and then get to the others. But everything else, whatever the three is that you use the most, that's what you should stick with and put them on whatever it is you put on your computer or your phone.
I would argue that three almost sounds like too many, because like if I'm using, as it relates to work, I'm using my LinkedIn, my email. I personally won't even go to Facebook messaging or Instagram. I just won't do that. That's like way too much for me. So I only use two. I use my email and LinkedIn.
Oh, there you go. But what happens if somebody needs to reach you right away?
You can text me or email me. I'm
you're using the text app.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So you're using that app.
I don't think, I've worked in organizations. The last job that I had, we had those chat, the open chat windows, and I can't remember which one it was. But I think that's incredibly distracting. How can you maintain concentration or focus? How can you get any task done if you've got this chat window constantly open?
I agree. I don't think it should be open.
So close as many. So maybe the first thing is, before you pick three, close everything and only start. Why do you think you should pick three? See, I would argue with two or one.
Well, for me, I need to look at my emails.
Right.
And by the way, there's another study that's come out that says you should probably only look at your emails twice a day.
Right.
It's really hard to do in the environment we're in. And if somebody needs to reach me right away, I say text me, because that's the thing that moves fast.
Right.
So I use those two. And the third one I use that's very important to me is my task list. Right. Those are the three. For me, that's important.
I see. All right. Okay. Text me, email me, task list. I agree. I mean, that's right where I am. Email, and some people are more, if they want to get a hold of you right away, they prefer email, or some prefer text. So I say whichever way you prefer, right? But are you an advocate to all the companies out there that have these open chat, rooms, platforms?
Just as you said, there's a major distraction. Distraction and multitasking are killers, absolute killers to productivity. All that does is that just took 10 minutes out of my day. Puff. What's that?
Right.
Oh, it doesn't apply to me. Now, where was I?
Yeah, right.
Right. And then another one pops up, and another one. And then it's not just about getting back to your work, but how hard it is to get a train of thought and keep it when you're writing something important, and the focus and presenteeism that we talked about in another snippet.
Right.
Completely takes 10 minutes away of your life.
So is this something that, in your experience, many executives or employers are actually monitoring, and managing?
They're supporting having more of those. In one of the firms I work with as a consultant, I'm in their email system. And now they've instituted this And by the way, some of the stuff is really wonderful. They're great tools and inventions. I don't mean to take away from any of the software designers that create them, but Slack, okay, is one they consider a productivity tool. I don't consider it a productivity tool. It's a good collaboration tool, but not if it pops on your screen. All right, collaboration is a whole nother thing. That's really important. You've got to be able to get to everybody in the organization to get information and share information. That's a whole different topic, but it doesn't have to be that instant. If you need information that fast, you should be able to text a person or call them on the phone even. Remember, there was the phone, used to be a phone. The others are all distractions. And now Zoom, which we're on now, this is another, they now created a chat system so that you can use that instantly. So Zoom wants you to have Zoom open all the time. And that same organization now has Slack. It also has Zoom. So people are Slacking or they're Zooming. So you have both open at the same time. Plus you have the notifications popping up when an email comes up, right? And then you have your text when somebody really needs to get you. So what's going on? I mean, does that make any sense to you? It's just
no, it makes no sense. And the point I think that is most elucidating, most informative, most valuable in this conversation is that if you're an executive managing staff and employees, it doesn't matter what you're doing, except maybe a customer service rep who's asking questions to directly respond and is got to connect to, the finance person or the switch on, switch off person or maintenance, whatever it might be. There may be some jobs that need to be connected to all those things because of the nature of the work. But if the nature of the work is where you have to have independent people, spending some time working on a deliverable, then you should be looking at those people and giving them ways where they are shutting off and not having to respond to all of those different emails, texts, Zoom, Slack, It's got to be a massive productivity killer.
Exactly.
So, all right, great. Today's tip was pick 3 apps. This was an interesting conversation. Thanks, Richard. Appreciate you being here. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night.